Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Romance Nights. We are your host, Colleen.
And I'm Marjorie. Today's episode, we have the author of Morally Questionable Romances, Veronica Lancet. Welcome to the Unfiltered Romance Nights podcast, and we are excited to have you.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Of course.
Of course.
So before we take a deep dive into your books, we have a few questions to kind of get to know you better.
Sure.
Now, how did you get started in your writing journey? And did you have another career before that?
Yes, so I still have another career. Well, not exactly career, but I'm a student. I'm a PhD student. And when I was starting, I was doing my master's, and it was exactly during the time of COVID. So I was writing my dissertation on human trafficking because I did my master's in crime and forensic science. So I was doing that, and then at some point I just like got this idea of doing a book with a female sniper that is a very good shot, and that's how kind of like how Bianca came to be.
Wow. Yeah, I just finished that book last night.
Oh,
I have I'm speechless. I have so many words, but not enough. It was so good.
oh, thank you so much. To be honest, so I was writing before, but I don't think I ever finished a book. So what I was doing, I was coming up with all of these plots. I was starting the books, but then I would just like get bored a little bit into it, and I would just like write the entire plot, and I would be bored. But this time, it was probably all of the outside factors as well, because with COVID and like not having anything else to do, I just forced myself to do it. And I was so happy when I finally finished the book, and I was like, oh my God, finally.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I had no idea what I was doing. Like with the first book, I really had no idea what I was doing. I was just like writing as it came to me. And then when I decided to publish it, it was kind of like, I don't even know, going with the flow, because I was not part of any like Facebook groups. I realized like a few months into writing that there was a whole side of publishing on Facebook, and with Facebook groups and people interacting with authors there. Like I still had that old school idea of like, you know, authors have a website and you go to Amazon to check their new releases, and you go on to Goodreads. So I had no idea about like how closely connected indie authors are with their readers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. That's I think Morally Corrupt was one of my favorite because Bianca is one of my top 5 FMCs ever. I love her. I was telling her, I was like, I think you'll love this one, but like, read it. So, and Colleen loved it. So I was like, I was happy
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I mean, you said you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
That does not translate in the book. Like I kept thinking, where the hell is she coming up with these ideas? This is like, well, now I understand because you're going to school for that kind of stuff. And I was like, it was phenomenal.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's definitely one of my top. Oh, how cute!
Cute, adorable.
Yeah, she's here,
Oh,
and yeah, she wants attention. So if you see her
aw.
giving me kisses midway, yeah.
Oh, so cute. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a while since I usually don't read those types of books like where there's such a strong female character, and so Margie was like, "Well, you know, she's like a stalker, like sniper, serial unaliver," and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know," and I was like, "This is amazing."
To be perfectly honest, so when after I wrote it and I was trying to kind of like market it, I realized that there wasn't really a very big audience for people who like really strong female characters, and I think that was one of my main issues like with the first book. But luckily I didn't really focus too much on marketing, and I just like kept writing, because if I had focused on marketing at that time, because I feel like the publishing landscape has changed so much, especially since like 2022 ish, kind of like, especially with dark romance. So yeah, if I had minded the fact that so many people were like, yeah, not, I'm not reading this, probably I wouldn't have written at all.
Aw.
Definitely worth it, I think. It's like, like she's one of my favorites. I love her. I don't care about what other people say, but I love her.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so when you're not writing, or if you need a break, with writing, do you have any hobbies to help you unwind?
So actually now I'm going through a bit of a burnout, and I'm trying to like get
Oh.
get out of it. Mostly I'm trying to get back into reading and watching shows on TV. Yeah, because also with school, because I'm a TA this year, so
Oh, you're
Busy.
busy.
yeah, and I'm trying to get a lot of things done, but sometimes the stress gets to me because too many things to do and too little time.
Right.
Yeah. Well, what would be your go-to TV show or movie?
So I watch anything that's new on TV. Uh, I love, like, I watch in all languages. Right now I'm watching this Thai drama that's currently airing. That's really really cute. It's called My Sherry Amor.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
it's really cute. I like to watch kind of like rom coms a lot, but also thriller and a lot of action. I don't know why. Sometimes, like if it's like very sassy, I don't think that translates very well on the TV. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to the new Squid Game.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
are
Yes.
you?
Yeah.
Oh my God. My husband watched that. I can't. I
What?
can't.
It's
No, it's so good. Like,
it's
uh,
amazing.
I usually love Korean shows, but they've done such an amazing thing with Netflix because now they have so much bigger budget, and also, when you're watching things that are specifically done for the Korean TV, there's a lot that's censored. So, like sometimes even knives are like blurred out on screen. But with Netflix, they have a lot of freedom, and I think that really translates into the storytelling.
Mhm.
Okay. I think the only thing I've watched and I had to find it on YouTube, was a Turkish drama. Um, Only because the main male character was so hot. I was like, for a while I watched it without knowing what they were saying, and I'm like, I need to find subtitles.
No, I totally get that. I think I started watching a Turkish drama as well at some point. They have, so Turkish and Thai as well. They're very similar to dark romances.
Mm.
I feel like Turkish, they're a bit more censored. Like they don't really
Yes.
show a lot of like even kisses. Like the one that I watched, there was not one kiss, and I was like, "Oh." But it's still like the tension, and yeah, the love story was really worth it. But yeah, usually they're a bit more toned down, but the concept is there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think I've only seen Turkish dramas like us on TikTok, like the
Oh, true.
part
Well, that's
one, and
my
I'm
son.
like, okay, where's part two? Now you're like, I need to watch this whole thing, but I don't have patience to find it on YouTube because they don't come up properly anyway. So I was
I
just like,
Yeah,
know.
I'll
that's true.
just I'll just wait on TikTok. But yeah, like my Netflix wish or my list of I need to watch is like all Korean drama.
Uh,
Um, so,
Oh,
but I do like,
those
yeah,
are
I
good.
love Squid Game. I think the last one that I I mean, not read, watch was The Glory.
Oh, yeah, that was really good.
It was good. Strong female main character as well. So, and that's her. It's like she's the focal of the story, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. So, hmm.
yeah.
I know you said you're kind of like trying to get back to reading. Do you have a favorite author, like a go-to author that you will read?
I don't think necessarily a favorite art. I mean, I do have one, but she hasn't released in a while, so I'm still waiting. I read mostly historical romance. And Stacy Reid is like my go-to. She is my favorite when it comes to historical romance. So I'm waiting for her next one because I've devoured the entire catalog. But yeah, I typically read more historical romance, and I also like Harlequin romances. Which,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah, they're cliche, but those cliches work. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're quick read. Like if you're not really looking for a lot of things, like pick it up and they're
and
very quick.
also because of the standards of publishing, they must be like around like 50,000 words. So
Hmm.
you don't really need to commit a lot of time. But at the same time, I'm also very much kind of like I'm impressed with how they managed to pack the story in 50,000 words, because I could never do that. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you said that your favorite subgenre would be your historical
yeah,
romance. Um, and then your first book was Morally Corrupt, just for those
yeah,
who are new
yes.
to writing. Okay. Now, with all that, what do your friends and family think about you writing these books, like these?
They don't speak English.
Oh, so they haven't read them.
Oh,
So they
that's
can't
funny.
read it in English.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, they know kind of what I write, but they don't know the specifics.
Mm.
Uh, so I'm like, well, in a way, it's good because I wouldn't want them to look at me differently if they read,
Yeah.
especially the darker books.
Right, right.
So it's a blessing that they don't speak English.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny. Um, so how many kind of like books do you typically release in a year if you're like, constantly writing kind of thing? Like if you have a schedule, do you have
So before I started my PhD, it was a bit different because I was kind of
Mhm.
like releasing them a month or so after I was writing them.
Mhm.
But now I'm trying to space them out, just because I know that at some points I'm going to be super busy, and when I
Mhm.
write them I want to like put them aside and have them for rainy days.
Mhm.
So uh, for example, what I released this year, the only one that I released after I wrote was the one with Minnie Marlowe, so of Ice and Villains. Barbie and the Villain I've had written for a year and a half.
Oh.
uh, the Wishing Game that's coming next year has been written for over 2 years.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to write and put aside as well. But now I have to focus on the sequels because I know that everyone's looking forward to them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marjorie. Ask. We were just
No.
talking about it.
Oh, yeah. So, you know how like in Morally Corrupt you kind of change some of it from when you previously published it. When are you going to do you have like plans to release the other books next year?
So the cute Psycho and his Hellgirl are already for pre-order, and
Mhm.
I want to release them sooner than the pre-order date. I
Mhm.
actually printed a copy of the first book to kind of like read through it and make
Mhm.
notes on. I don't want to change, so it's already gone through editing again, so it's
Mhm.
fully edited. I just want to maybe add some things and change it so it's not so dependent on the other books in the series.
Mm.
Oh.
So cute.
So I want to see what I can do in terms of that, because I've already split it into two, and
Mhm.
it works, which I'm really happy about. I just basically need to figure out and have the time to do it, because I'm really bad at multitasking. I usually need to focus on one project at one time, and now I am finishing the sequel to Marlowe and Minnie, which is going to be a Vice and Sacrifice. Yeah, and that's been kind of like going slow
Mhm.
because of the burnout.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
Okay.
basically, I'm hoping to release them as soon as possible, And once I'm done with it, it's going to be just like within a month of each other for these two. And I
Mhm.
also just like printed for Morally Blasphemous, so I can go for it. It's already been edited as well. I just need to see continuity issues to make sure that
Mm.
it's good as a standalone instead of like part of the series. And oh oh yeah, so that's the main goal, because I do have the covers. I've had them for a long time, and I've released the covers for the Cute Psycho and his Hell Girl in
Mhm.
my group. I haven't done it officially yet, but they're so good. Like I'm really so excited about it. But at the same time, I'm like, how do I even market mafia dark romance now? Because I've mostly done fantasy, so
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I'm a bit out of the loop. But at the same time, as I said, with the changes in the publishing landscape, I feel like a lot of the things that I wrote years ago are more acceptable now, and
Mhm.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
people are looking for them more. Like I've seen so many books lately with like cannibalism, and I'm like, yay!
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
uh,
In
yeah.
Morally Ambiguous, the duet, well, I call it romantic cannibalism.
Ah, I know what you're talking about. If it's still the same kind of like from when I
Yeah,
read it
yeah.
before.
No, no, not nothing is going to majorly change. Like all of the things are still going to be there.
Mm.
That was so now that you brought that up, when Bianca went back after to talk about Morally Corrupt, when she went back to talk to Vlad about how her ticket was for the heart, he's like, "Oh, I only got a limb or whatever." I was like, I love
Yes.
Vlad.
Yeah.
That was the
Mhm.
best.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, in the book. So, because I'm still keeping all of the backstory, I'm just like splitting it into two.
Mhm.
So, because the first book is focusing more on Vlad, it's going to be his backstory first. And then in the
Mhm.
second book, it's going to be Sissy's backstory, kind of like to
Uh-huh.
make it flow better. It still shows him going there to kind of like try to find some things. I'm not going to
Mhm.
spoil it.
Yeah,
But he goes
Yeah.
there, and yeah, he does engage
I
in
love him.
that type
Yeah.
of cannibalism.
Yeah. I love him. He's hilarious, and I
Right?
feel like his friendship with Bianca like works. I love their relation, like their friendship. They're so
Yeah.
funny, like how they just kind of like banter. It's like quick, witted, and their banter is like they say it with a straight face, and you can't. They couldn't tell if they're like joking or are they like serious. But like as a reader, when you're reading it, you're just like laughing, like how are these two people like friends with the way they act
Right.
and talk
Well,
to
he
each other.
says it very clearly.
Hmm.
It's the loyalty, because
Hmm.
that's about the only thing that he can really acknowledge as far as feelings goes. It's the closest thing. So he's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love Lad. He's one of my favorite characters, and his story is so sad. Like when I was writing it, I remember it was so hard going through like some of the like more graphic scenes.
Oh,
Mhm.
But at the same time, I feel like to kind of like get a good understanding of who he is, you need all of these like really really like rough scenes,
hmm,
because he's pretty complicated. Even though he is emotionless, he doesn't really feel things. He's pretty complicated in that regard, and his past is like so much of who he is.
Mhm.
yeah.
And his sarcasm and his kind of like jokes are a way of masking all of that inside of him, like the, because even though he doesn't necessarily feel, he still has that type of how should I say it, because you realize in Morally Ambiguous that he has a specific way of feeling. Well, maybe it's not like what regular people feel, but still like something.
Hmm. I'm excited to read his
Yeah.
story.
I'm
Um,
I'm glad you're like republishing them because now I'm like, oh, I can reread them again. Like it's almost like new, but it's not. But it's just like I've read them a while back, so I was just like, it's just like going back to this, universe. Is I love all the characters. Um, are you going to write like the second generation series
yes.
or like a second gen?
I'm not sure, and I'm saying this even though I have ideas for them. It's just time.
Yeah.
Mm,
I have so many books planned, and to be honest, even if I have books outside of it, I know I need to finish the trilogies that I started. So
mm,
that's
Hmm.
kind of like my main focus right now is to. Uh, I can't write like one trilogy one after another because I get like bored and kind of like fed up with that. So I need to
mhm,
Yeah.
alternate them. That's why I'm finishing that book now and then starting with Barbie and the Villain 2. Uh, but yeah, I need to finish those trilogies. And that's kind of like because I know people are waiting, and some people don't even want to read them without like seeing that they're finished.
mhm.
Yeah.
But after that, I'm not sure.
Well, you have a lot on your plate, like with school and everything, and writing and things getting published. Do you have to set like a specific like writing schedule for yourself?
So I've tried, and especially now with kind of like feeling in this burnout, I've been trying to find ways to kind of like force myself to write, but I've realized that it doesn't really work
Yeah.
because like my process is mostly I do the thinking in my head, like I kind of like visualize everything in my head ahead, uh,
Right.
and then I have to sit down and write it. But yeah, typically before I had this like rough patch, I was trying to get like 3,000 words a day. Maybe I wasn't doing it every day, but I was doing it constantly, and that's how I managed to write so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I have to find a new balance, so to speak.
Right.
Um, with all the books that you've written, what book would you say the most difficult to write?
Oh, that's the simplest answer ever. The Prodigal Son, with
Oh,
the past of Michele and Raffaello. That's like that was the roughest. To be honest, I had to hit pause so many times because it's just like so trauma filled.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, to switch gears a little bit, the book of Ice and Villains. Now, was that originally titled Mayhem and Minnie? Okay. What made you change the name?
I felt like people were not grasping that it was fantasy because
Ah.
the way it's written is kind of like the male character, the male main character. He is human, and he
Hmm.
is a serial killer.
Mhm.
And the way the story unfolds in the beginning, it does seem a little bit like a contemporary, even though there are really odd things that he's questioning about the female main character. But I saw some reviews and people were saying, I didn't know this was fantasy. I thought all the way up until the reveal that it was contemporary. So
Mhm.
yeah, I was trying to make it more clear. Like once you pick it up, that is fantasy. It's not like
Right.
a contemporary book.
Okay.
Gotcha. So is this gonna be like it's a trilogy as
Yeah.
well, this one? Okay. Um, I know you said one of your favorite MMC in your books is Vlad. Do you have a favorite couple in
Oh, that's tough. I don't think I can choose just because um, the favorite is the one that I'm always currently writing because I get so immersed into their love story
Hmm.
that I'm like
Mhm.
kind of like rooting for them. Uh, just because I don't know, for me, when I finish a book, it just kind of like feels a little bit weird going back. It's kind of like intruding in their space almost.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. Uh, I do have like for example from Fairy Tale, I feel like that's a really good couple. For the trilogies, to be honest, I can't reveal much. So, Barbie and the Villain, the way it ended, a lot of people are very angry and they're not rooting for the hero. So, I can't even say that's one of my favorites because they're going to be like, what?
um, well, so I guess if would you be even able to like choose a favorite FMC then, like a female main character? No, that's okay. We always try. We we always have that question just to kind
Yeah,
of
I know.
It's
put authors on
so
the spot.
hard. Like,
Mm.
it's really so hard because I love Bianca because she was my first, of course.
Right.
Mhm.
I also really like Noelle
Oh
from
yeah.
the War of Sin series because I feel like she's such a complicated character that you can never tell whether she's good or bad. It's like the moral ambiguity of it is so strong with her. And depending on what book you're reading, oh, she's okay. No, she's not.
So you're just like going back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
When it comes to book covers, how do you go about choosing that, and how do you decide whether it's going to be a male model cover or if it's going to be more like, I don't know, to use an artist, like artistic?
So I'm really bad with that because I go by gut feeling, and it's not
Okay.
it's not always the best thing to do. Oh, which is why I end up changing the covers a lot because I realize that they don't work for the market. I
Mm,
have a few artists that I work with. One of them is for the contemporary mafia series, and then I also have for the fantasy ones. But I also go like if I see a pre-made and I really love it, then I'm going to buy it. I probably have like a few tens of covers that are not being used right now because I just like if I
yeah.
see something that's pretty, I need to have it. And then it doesn't really fit the story. Like for example, I'm also working kind of like in the background on another kind of like dark paranormal gothic dark academia book, and I think I bought like 5 covers already, and I don't know which one is going to be the main one, but at least I'm going to have special edition.
Nice. I'm excited for that Dark Academia.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Yeah. Um. So I know you kind of like touch base a little bit on your future projects. Are there any? Well, we talked about like Hell Girl, his Hell Girl, and Cute Psycho. Are there other besides Wishing Game? I guess are there other any books that you're planning to release next year
So
or?
it would be this one, the dark academia gothic one, that
Oh, okay.
hopefully if I manage to finish everything, I would release it in October next year, so in 1 year from now.
Okay.
And that's pretty exciting because um, I have some of it written.
Okay.
It just like so one thing about like my process is that I don't read dark because I read historical romance, like sweet fluffy stuff. I
Mhm.
always want to write something fluffy.
Yeah.
Always. Like, I come up with an idea and I'm like, oh my God, that would be so cute. And then I start writing it, and a few chapters in, it turns out into like this diabolical thing with like a lot of darkness. That's how Barbie and the Villain started. It was supposed to be just a rom com, okay?
Okay.
That's how Fairy Tale started too. It was supposed to be a small town, like kind of like fluffy romance. Nope.
Mhm.
That's how
Yeah.
this one started. It was supposed to be kind of like, like a high school, like really sweet first love type of thing. No,
No.
no.
Okay.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I
Mommy, I
don't
guess you
Now,
found your
write. I
niche,
don't think,
like
yeah.
dark.
yeah, I don't think I can write fluffy. I don't think I can write, even though I want to. I would
Mhm.
love to. It's just like the characters don't behave.
They're just like, no, that's not working out. Kind of
No.
thing.
I mean, for this one, for the it's called Thorn Veil. I did reveal the title, so I can say it.
Hmm.
The male character was supposed to be kind of like this golden retriever, very sweet dude. But
Hmm.
instead, what ended up happening is that he appears to be like a golden retriever, the golden boy to everyone else, but he has a very dark side, and he's very manipulative. But like no one believes that because he's so like well liked.
Mm.
So yeah, it ended up completely different.
It's different.
I
Yeah.
love that though.
Oh, I love that. That's gonna be interesting.
Oh yeah, he's probably one of I I'm not sure if I should say that he is on the same level as Michele, because Michele is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of like there. He's very manipulative, very like to get what he wants. But he has a reason for it. He has a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's all that matters. As long as there's a reason, it can be forgiven.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of Michele, is he gonna have his own
Yes.
story? Okay. Right.
Yes. I'm aiming for a trilogy, but to be perfectly honest, so I wrote a bonus scene for the Palestine anthology. And in that bonus scene, something happens at the end. I'm not sure if I should spoil it.
I have to find my copy and then need to read it.
Something happens at the end, and everyone was
Mhm.
asking me, "Why this is not true? Is it like it?" And I'm like, "No, they're going to have their own story. Like, they're probably one of my favorite couples in that respect because they're it's just like so complicated, and even I don't know whether to root for them."
Yeah, I know he's because isn't it, if I remember correctly from War of Sins, because he had some of his point of view in there. He's very they have like an age gap, and she was in high
So they
school,
have
wasn't she?
about 8 years age gap. So it's not too much, but the fact that she is so young, that makes it very bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he is 26 at the beginning, and she just turned 18. So it kind of like skirts the line just there.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I'm interested in that because I think when I first read morally, um, like in that morally questionable series, it kind of hinted about the female main character for him, like what kind of what happened. I was like, I need their story, and then reading War of Sins, it hinted it again, but I remember him as a young boy from Gianna's story, and it's weird because like I like his character in that, and Raffaella was like, I don't know if I like him or not because of how he acted. And then, you read War of Sins, Prodigal Son, you kind of like see
Yeah.
both point of view as they're growing up. And it's both of their backstories are kind of like tragic. I mean, you could say.
One thing is that, so when I started writing the War of Sins, I had everything mapped out. But as you know, the books turned out to be really long, like really like when they were originally published as War Unfinished and War Unjust. War Unfinished had 265 or 70,000 words. That's already a lot. War Unjust had, I think, 310,000 words, which is like a full trilogy in itself.
Right, yeah.
So I had the entire thing mapped out in like these like really really big books, and that's why you get so much of Michele as well, because his trilogy was supposed to follow afterwards. But the thing is, since then, kind of like since writing his character more, I've kind of like started getting more ideas. Uh, and especially since merging the universe with, because the Wishing Game is featuring Lucero from the War of Sin series, so it's kind of like merging the two like contemporary and fantasy worlds, and it's the same characters. And with the end of the piece in the anthology, I was kind of like, I suddenly had this like light bulb go off, and I was like, oh my god, what if Michele and Zia's story is also kind of like has some paranormal in there?
Oh, that's gonna be interesting because Yeah.
Just a
Like
sprinkle.
sprinkle. Yeah.
I mean,
Interesting.
from the beginning, I had how I had the idea is just going to be the same thing, just how it gets there is going to be a little bit different, because I feel like, and probably a lot of people will agree with me, with how their relationship developed. Uh, Ziva's not going to take him back, like as Michele. She's not going to take him back as like who he is. So something has to change in that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, his, I mean, definitely that character is kind of like, he it's harder to kind of like love him, as an adult, like as his character is an adult. It's different when you're reading him
Yeah.
as a child, like you feel for him, but then he turns into an adult and it's like, I don't know if you're gonna come back. Like, I don't know. Like, with all the things that you've done, it's just weird. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, definitely. I feel like a lot of people have very kind of like ambiguous opinions about him. They both love him and hate him. And it's really interesting because I get messages of when their story is going to be daily. Like people really, really, really want the story, but at the same time, because and this is what I've said from the beginning, uh, and it's why I've kind of like strayed away from writing too dark. I haven't been able to write extremely dark, like prodigal son type of darkness, and Michele's story is like intrinsically dark. So I have to get into a certain mind space to be able to
Mm.
write him. And it just like it has to be the perfect moment, so I can do him justice and give him the perfect story.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I've never thought of it that way. Like, I think as readers, we might take for granted that you're just putting pen to paper, so to speak. But yeah, if you're writing something super dark,
Mhm.
you got to be in the right headspace. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
for me I think it's a bit more difficult because of my process and how I write, because I have to like live with the characters in my mind for a while
Right.
before I start writing them. So it's kind of like, it starts affecting me as well. uh,
Oh.
that's why it's been a bit difficult. Like I've kind of like touched on darkness in my latest books, but it's not like, it's more, how should I say it, it's not like graphic, it's not it's more implied than
Mm.
Right.
directly stated.
Okay.
You could start your own like subgenre and call it darkish rom com.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I think morally ambiguous kind of like started with the kind of like rom-com dark romance thing, but
Mhm.
that was too dark. That was
Was it? I mean, I mean, I guess that's a me thing. Like, I didn't think it was that dark, but
Yeah.
like the way that I read anyway, I have like a different threshold, I guess, of
yeah.
what dark
Right.
is for me. So for me, that was more like rom com. I mean, I know it was graphic. It was. I would say that it's graphic. People should read the trigger warning and the author note in there because it was graphic. But I found it, even though it's graphic, it's how Vlad and Sissy, they how they act, kind of thing, like during
Very cute.
those moments.
They're
Yeah,
like,
there it was like you could like forgive what they're doing because they're just so adorable with how they interact and like kind of learning the world together. And I'm just like, I should not find this cute because it's really not cute what they're doing, but their banter in front of the person that like they're
Right.
killing is like that's not, there's nothing cute in that, but they're cute together.
you know what's really funny is, so with morally ambiguous, with War of Sins, I've written dark, right?
Mhm.
And with my newest ones, they're not as dark, but there is like some darkness sprinkled in there. And
Mhm.
the most backlash I've gotten was over the vice and villains, which is not even like the hero is basically a king of consent. Like he doesn't even kiss her without like asking for permission.
Oh,
And
Mhm.
okay.
but there is one scene in there that I find it funny. People did not find it funny.
Okay.
So he digs up the heroine's ex because he died, and he's still jealous that uh, he didn't manage to kill him himself.
Okay. Ah,
So
that's
he digs
funny.
up the body, which is mummified because the
Right.
he's been dead for like 100 years,
Okay.
and he does some things with the body, but it's not inappropriate.
Okay.
Okay.
Semi.
See, I would think that's funny.
Yeah, that
Like
would be
it's
funny.
quirky, dark humor. I like that.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, oh my God! So, I was. I thought it was very funny too, and I was posting about this like snippet on TikTok, and I oh my God, I think it got on the wrong side of TikTok, and
Oh, geez.
then on IG as well. Like I still get people who share that reel, and they're like, "Oh, you're sick in the head," and I'm like, "It's funny."
Oh, God.
It's the wrong side.
You're,
It went
yeah,
to
we
the
got to
wrong
get you
side.
back on the right side.
Like
Right. We have to.
funny, right?
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's like, have they seen other dark romance stuff that, like, like the snippets? It's like, it's worse than those.
I
Let's
know.
be realistic.
He asks
Yeah.
for consent. How many times can you say that in a dark room?
Right. Yeah. I don't. Barely any dark romance have that.
So why did he digs up the dead body? Like,
But he's like a serial killer. Like,
yeah, yeah.
that's his hobby or whatever, job, I guess. We can call it.
He just
Like, but
wanted to kill the dude again because he wasn't satisfied that he died 100 years before.
before
Fair
him.
enough.
Yeah, like, yeah. Oh, that's funny. I mean, I think it's funny. For people who doesn't think it's funny, okay, like, go find a different book that's fluffy, I guess.
Right.
This is not the genre for you.
Well,
Um,
we all know it doesn't take much to get in trouble on social media. So,
oh yeah, that's true.
But that's why I was like, it's so funny that out of all of my books, this was the one that they picked on.
Yeah, I feel like you could have done morally corrupt, morally ambiguous to get mad at, or something. Like,
Yeah, I mean, they literally like in war scenes with Michele with the fetus. There's a lot of things there that I can see why people would get like outraged, but like that's one.
right? Yeah, or I'm looking, or morally blasphemous. There was things
Oh,
there that was like people could get mad about it too. Like, there's one scene. I'm not gonna spoil it for people, but there's a scene in there that people could get mad about that
yes,
too.
that is very true.
Hmm.
And I think luckily that book kind of like hit with the target audience, or even if they didn't like the plot twist, they at least
Hmm.
appreciated kind of like the journey there. Uh, Luckily now the landscape has changed, so
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about that. Hopefully,
that's true.
hopefully,
True.
because
Yeah,
yeah, you never know on which side of TikTok you're going to end up.
yeah,
yeah.
that's true. One more question for Michele, I guess. I know you unpublished the Prodigal Son. Like, when you do, you know, release his series, would you put that back out there, or?
So I've actually been thinking about this, not to put it out there, but maybe just like take all of the Michele kind of like background story, and also the scenes where he and Venezia are together in the series, and kind of like make a prequel.
Okay.
Because I
Makes sense.
know that some people would like to not go through the entire series to get to just like the snippets of Michele and Venezia. So I would have that kind of like, oh, here it is. It's easy to access.
Mm. Okay, gotcha.
So we've got paranormal, we have dark mafia, dark romance, dark rom com. We're gonna own that.
Yeah.
And are there any other genres, subgenres, or tropes that you would like to write?
Fluffy and historic.
I know.
I
Yeah.
I would love, but I feel like because I've always had some ideas for historicals. That's how I actually started with like a plotting a paranormal historical book, but it also turned out dark.
You could, like, I used to read historical romance, Lisa Kleypas maybe,
I
and she has some darkness in it.
the one thing with historical romance, I feel like it's changed kind of like indirectly proportionally to how dark romance has changed. Whereas
Yeah.
now dark romance is more acceptable and kind of like people seek out the darkness. In historical romance, they want more PC type of stuff.
Mm,
Oh.
So, because when you look at like 20 years ago, when what was published 20 years ago in terms of historical romance, you have a lot of like body sweepers, you have dubious consent, you have the hero forcing the heroine to marry him and stuff like that. So you have a lot of the tropes that we see now in dark romance,
right.
but
Mhm.
they're not as commercially viable anymore.
Mm,
Oh.
And because historical romance is mostly trad published, I feel like that filters out a lot of the dark
right.
in it. So they don't really look for it. But yeah, that's why I
Mm,
prefer older type of romances because they don't shy away, and there's no kind of like filter. Because
Mhm.
yeah, everything is like in mainstream kind of like publishing is very PC, so you don't
right.
really find anything that pushes the boundaries anymore.
Yeah. But I mean, if you think about it, like it's a historical romance. It's not gonna be
Fluff,
PC.
yeah.
I don't. Yeah,
No,
it's not
you know
gonna.
shit was going down back
But
then.
Right.
that's the thing. They don't want to portray that anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of this in like adaptations as well, and the Bridgerton uproar that
No.
over the last season with how
Mhm.
they gender swapped one of the main characters that was the most beloved male character. So I feel like you can find that in like a lot of mediums
Mm.
where the nuance changes. That's why
Yeah.
older stuff.
Yeah. We should just keep our dark romance genre to us because it's
Yeah, yeah. If it,
like you can push the boundaries because it's
Sure.
expected,
Yeah.
um, and it's not extremely like like people kind of hate. I mean, obviously there are still people that's gonna hate on something, but I feel like with dark romance, most people once they hear dark romance, they know what they're getting into, kind of.
and
Yeah.
you know what my gripe is with like kind of like the whole discourse on dark romance versus what like mainstream publishing, and I feel like this is in every kind of like sort of conversation that you have. It's fine to write dark or like fucked up shit as long as there's no love story, because apparently if there's a happy ending at the end, that doesn't make it literary anymore.
Right? What? But it's
Really?
a romance.
Yeah, because you can find so many books that are very dark, but they're just like dark under the guise of kind of like, oh, this is the darkness, but there's no love story in there. And the moment there is a love
Hmm.
story, they call us perverts.
Oh, please. No.
I mean, right? Because even when you're talking like even if I were to say I am a writer and talk about in academic circles, I feel like this is kind of like a hurdle that I would have,
Mhm.
because which is why I don't understand it. Like, uh, if there's something with a happy ending like romance, they don't consider it like literary. They consider it like trashy. Like, why?
No.
It's
Yeah,
empowering for women.
right.
I feel like, yes, I think as readers, we almost more often than not need that happy ending for us to feel whole, to come full circle. Either that or
Mhm.
I'm going to read horror erotica, which I know most of the time I'm not getting a happy ending.
See,
So,
and this is exactly they choose the kind of like they choose what is literary and what is a masterpiece. Like if you have horror erotica, as long as it doesn't have a happy ending and the woman doesn't get a happy ending, literary masterpiece. If you have a dark romance, oh no, what are you reading?
What?
no.
No.
Morally corrupt, literary masterpiece. I'm stamping it. I'm putting it out there. Done.
I mean, remember reading Haruki Murakami, and he has some fucked up shit in there. Like literally, even the descriptions are very kind of like on the nose. a literary masterpiece. But if a woman were to write that, and the woman in the story would have a happy ending now, that's that's for just like literature for women. It's not like significant.
What was that book? And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Wuthering Heights? Was that not
Wuthering.
a happy ending? I mean, yeah, it took them. They ended up together in the end. No, am I the only one that read it?
I don't know. Wuthering Heights. I know.
Heathcliff, Wuthering Heights. I'm pretty sure that that's literary. Like, I think you sometimes have to read it for school, if I'm not
Yeah, I think
mistaken,
it's
in
in
high school.
school, high school.
And I think they end up together, and that's supposed to be like this
I read it along.
great work of art.
Didn't he die or something like that?
Did
Somebody
he?
died in it.
Yeah.
I thought. Yeah, somebody died in it. I
All right,
think I
edit
don't.
that part out.
I I don't think they had a happy ending. I thought
Pride and
somebody
Prejudice.
died.
They end up together.
Yeah, but see, we did Pride and Prejudice in college, and the only thing that we were looking at was the social commentary, not the kind of like
Oh,
the love
the
story.
romance.
Kind of like, oh, everything is a veiled commentary on the class, on the kind of like the mores of the time. Yeah, I feel like even if the work is necessarily a romance, you have to intellectualize it.
Okay, this
Mm,
that's
okay.
too much work when I'm like reading a romance. I just want to like
Yeah, we just want to
read.
read for pleasure. We don't want to
Right.
have to think all of these things.
Yes, because if I'm
Right,
wanting to
right,
do those, I'm gonna read the self-help books. That's if I wanted to
right.
think, I would read those, but
Yeah,
I don't. So
exactly. Which is weird for me because whenever I'm reading for school, like even if I read a historical text, I seek out the romance. I'm like, oh my god, they got married, and then I quickly go and search. Did they have a happy ending? It's
oh,
kind of
that's
like
funny.
I'm searching for that happy ending, even though in historical like fiction, not romance, in historical fiction, more often than not, it's kind of like no, they did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So, do you have like? Are you scheduled to attend book signings at all this year or next year?
Next year, yes,
No, next year.
I'm going to be at the Polycon, a Rare London, and also Chicago Book Fest,
Oh, that's
book harvest.
okay. That's next year. All of
Yes,
those next year.
yes,
Okay.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. I think we're going to venture out to Texas. Wonderlust, right? Wonderlust? Yeah.
Wanderlust, I think next
I
year.
know there's so much fun. Now Rare is huge, right? That's like a huge.
yes.
Oh wow.
Yes, I was there last time in London as well, and it was such a good signing. I mean,
Mhm.
organizing and everything, it was so good. Uh, that's why I had this idea that every signing would be like that, but no, they're like exception.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you had any signings this year that you or no?
I had a local one. It was a very, very small one. My friend
Oh,
flew
okay.
out here, stayed a couple of
Mhm.
days with me, and we both went to the signing. But it was kind of like we didn't even have pre-orders. Just like we showed up there,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
like
That's
hi.
awesome. That's awesome though. It's like at least you didn't have to like fly anywhere, have all this
right.
I think
travel.
that's the most difficult part with like book signings because you have to bring a lot of stuff with you.
Yeah. Right.
And for me, I also
And then
have to bring the little pooch with me everywhere I go. So that's like,
do you have a little purse for him? Like, do you stick him in a purse and his little head's out?
yeah,
You do. I
Oh,
knew
that's
it.
cute. It's so cute.
I know. Oh.
yeah, I'm traveling everywhere with her now, even though it's kind of like it's difficult because she doesn't like people.
Uh,
Oh,
well, you get if you get one of those little vests that says like what is that called? Like
Do not.
I
service
don't.
dog. Don't
Yeah.
pet my dog. It's a service dog.
I'm not sure if I can put the service dog on her, but I should get one of those. Do not pet because they see
That's right.
her like being so cute, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, you're so cute," and then she starts, "Meow, meow, 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 meow."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of like I think people should always ask first
Yeah,
Oh,
before,
sure.
yes, I
like
always
instead
appreciate.
of
And I always tell them, you can try. I'm not sure if she'll let you.
Right. Yeah.
You
It's
can
just
try as long as you don't have an attachment to your fingers.
Okay, that's fine. It's just like very loud and does not like to be kind of like, because we were on vacation, and whenever we were walking down the street, people would be like, "Oh, so cute!" And the moment they made eye contact, she'd be like, "Ah!"
she's like, don't look at me. Like, no, I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're
Right.
gonna ask. Don't even. Like, yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen people where like at least they will ask, and I was like, you can try. Like, cause
Oh,
I have a big dog, but I always like tell them, I was like, I don't know, like, you can try, but don't get mad at me if he doesn't like it. you know.
Yeah.
actually, fun fact, because I got her after I started writing Barbie and the Villain, because there is a pom pom in Barbie and the Villain, and I got so attached to the fictional dog that I was like, I need one, and I got the exact same.
Exact same.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had
That's
an
awesome.
orange one years ago. Um, I'm more of a big dog person, but yeah, they're cute. The
I was
Pomeranians
not
are
Cute.
a dog
so cute.
person.
Right after their haircut.
Oh yes, yes, she does need grooming a lot. But I was not a
Mhm.
dog person before. I considered myself firmly a cat person.
Mm.
Yes.
But then
Love
I fell
cat.
in love with the pom pom, with a fictional pom pom, and had to make her a reality.
Reality.
Oh, well, she
Oh.
loves you. You can tell.
Oh
Mm.
yeah, she needs a lot of attention. Like literally, she gets very jealous.
Oh.
Mm.
That's why she
So
was
you
trying
can never.
to pay attention, because if she hears that I'm talking with someone else, then she's like, "No, I need attention. You giving me now attention."
Yeah.
So it's you can never have any other pet, I guess,
No.
Oh
with
yeah.
her.
Because initially I was like, well, in Barbie and the Villain, there are two dogs. I should get another one too, because there is a white pom pom and a black pom pom. And I was like, I want the black one too, but yeah, she would not stand for it.
No.
Yeah.
She would
No.
yeah, even with her toys, because uh, home at my mom's, she had a neighbor with a dog. And that dog would sometimes, because we were trying to get them to befriend them, because they're both like of similar stature, like small, and they're both girls, so we're like, maybe they'll be friends. When she was coming over, literally she was going to all of her toys to protect them. She was like, don't come near my
Yeah.
Gee, that's so
But
cute.
then my neighbor figured out how to get her to stop barking at her, and she was giving her treats.
Oh,
You know what she
Right.
did? She dug a hole under the fence to go to the neighbors to get more
the
treats.
trees.
Smart dog.
Smart.
Very smart dog.
It's a smart
Yeah.
dog.
We were just like
Uh,
watching her dig up, and she was just like relentless. And at first, she realized she could do it because she found a buried treat. And
oh.
she could smell the buried treat, because the other dog buries her treats. She could smell it. She dug it up, and then she dug a hole between our fences to go over.
Oh. Smart.
That's funny.
That's
Very smart dogs are.
And for a small tidbit that she is, it's kind of like,
Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. We had so much fun,
yeah.
and thank you so much for taking the time to
oh,
meet with us today.
me. This
Yeah.
was really fun.
Thank
Oh,
you.
there she is.
Oh, bye, sweetie. We're ending it now. So be sure to follow us on all of our social medias and to subscribe to our podcast. You don't want to miss out on our episodes. If you have any authors you would like to recommend, be sure to send us an instant message, whether it be on Instagram or on TikTok. That's all. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.